sport and every other angles of human life. Okay, yeah. So it seems that there could be labor when it comes to assistive technology for PWD. What do you think is the challenge for now?
Thank you. So, first I want to say congratulations to TheCable for this great initiative. And having this is actually a great step towards inclusion. And like you mentioned, those facts that you mentioned are actually right. And the major issue is this: yes, there are lots of comes to inclusion, there are other areas of inclusion, but when it comes to people living with disability, getting assistive tech seems to be like a major issue right now. So the reason is that when it comes to most people, the awareness of people actually intentionally including them is not there. So it takes a lot, it takes people who understand what they go through in society to actually include them, like what has done. So it's actually good that this awareness is out there, which I'm happy that you're doing right now. And the media is also needs to also do more to push out this awareness to know, and then people actually get these skills that they can use to intentionally develop this assistive technology for them that can actually help them. Because the more technology is advancing, if this is not bridged, more gap is going to create. So if there is more awareness created and the more intentional efforts to train people who can actually develop and work towards creating this technology, is definitely going to bridge this gap and then help people with disability to actually gain more with technology and not lose behind what is happening in technology and what the creations that have been done with technology. Thank you.
I think just taking a step further away from Nigeria. So at Branding Initiative, what are the things or what are the barriers or the setback that you think that you have encountered over, or and then how do you think that we can overcome them when it comes to providing assistive materials, technology driven materials for this community of people?
All right, thank you. So, at Paradigm Initiative, we are actually an organization that focuses on digital inclusion, connecting young Africans to digital opportunities and ensuring digital rights for all. We've been doing this for more than 15 years. And yes, the mission then was when we started was to actually connect African youth. But it got to a point that we realized that there are other, yeah, we are connecting African youth, but there are other areas of inclusion that we have not really penetrated, which is people living with disability. So what we decided to do, we decided to take the step further, and the life program, which is a program, we decided to partner with other like organizations to ensure that we actually work with people that work with disability to help implement inclusion programs and digital literacy programs. So one might say that the essence is that we realize that there is a gap. And to fill this gap, we need to actually partner with like-minded. So filling this gap actually needs cooperation, partnership within CSOs, private sector, just to ensure that this issue is, there are some things that my organization might have and yours won't, but there are some things that you have and I do. And then when we work together, we could actually partner and do to ensure that these people are actually included. So that's why we took our Life Legacy program a step further. Then also accessibility is an issue. Accessibility, affordability, these are the issues that we see in inclusion. So if there are going to be policies and intentional efforts to actually make accessibility, actually make digital devices accessible to especially people living with disabilities, just like how we spoke about the assistive tech, and then also affordability. Read that they're very expensive. Not everybody can afford it. So if you can actually make be intentional about making it affordable, then we could actually bridge this gap and this issue will be resolved. So I listed collaboration, affordability, and accessibility. So those are key issues that we see. And if they are really worked on them, definitely we see ourselves going somewhere. And years from now, we'll see ourselves, we are not speaking much about inclusion because it has now been included.
I've done rates with the tech sector, with the media sector, so that they are coming over to say that yes, this is how you can specifically help us. This is how to represent data, things that affect us. Do you think they're doing well enough?
Uh, Thanks so much for that question. I think it happens both ways because we all have a responsibility that we have assistive technology. We all have a responsibility that we must be inclusive. There's nothing we call development if it's not inclusive. So society is not at the same wavelength. We're not at the same level in terms of how we appreciate technology, in terms of how we understand technology. That's why I'm always excited with Project Enable. Because I mean, for a while, and maybe I'm not scanning the ecosystem properly. It's maybe I see a lot of young people now being at the forefront. And I'm not saying there are other people who have not been doing this, but maybe it's people of my own generation that would now be at the forefront about how do we spaces and ecosystems could be more inclusive. So I think it's very, very important that we have more young leaders. And I mean, proximity that's critical to all of this. Even people within that community also have to be at the forefront of this conversation effectively, so that it carries a lot of authenticity. So I feel as development organizations, we have to be much more responsible to it. For example, I said we want to simplify budget and make it easier, but I don't think we have ever been deliberate to say, how do we make people with this form of disabilities have access to this same budget? I don't, because also you are in the midst of running like different races. So for you to take a bit of pause and say, okay, I need to make this kind of adjustments, maybe in the way I write this code, the way I present this information, the way I allow someone to maybe have an alternative text and things like that. For you to be able to put that extra effort, you might always forget. But one thing I'm excited is that there's a deliberate push on it. And that's why you see even public events now, you now have sign language. This is something that everyone is now very more mindful of. Technology ecosystem also needs to apply to that. And if there's any place we should lead the way, it should be from the civic tech, development tech environment. So I believe it's not just about the disability, people with disabilities community not stepping up enough. I think also it's also on us within that space to also do more.
Hello, can you hear me?
Right now.
Oh, fine. Thank you so much, because most times we think disability should conform, right? But ideally, like from what you just mentioned, we should also provide a system that is inclusive. We talk about main applications. Many of them complain that even when they are listened to say online trainings, classes, many of the translations now are not usually very correct. So most time we just think that they conform. But I think from what you said, it's very important that we also become inclusive in the way we think. All right, Angela, I'll come to you quickly. In 2019, if I'm right, the Nigerian government signed the Nigerian Disability Act, and it seems like a very major milestone, years of advocacy and things like that. But how do you think that technology can help us? Because most times it's not about the laws. We have law in Nigeria that just stay somewhere and just gather those time. There's no implementation. What are the basic steps that several sectors that you can easily think of can now begin to implement so that law, I think 5 years window, 2019 to now is almost 5 years is gone already. How can we engage technology better? How can we engage the media to ensure that there's a proper implementation of that?
Hi, thank you very much. So just like you mentioned, when you said something about implementation, I was like, very correct. All we do is just policy, and then implementation is the issue. It's just there. We just say that we have this on ground, but how is it being implemented? So the policy is there, but then there will be an effort to push that in front. So like telecom organizations, private sectors, governments, ensure that
this policy is put in front. There are a lot of initiatives. There are a lot of people pushing for this implementation of policies. But the thing is that to actually give it the right push. So like private sector, I'm going to mention private sector, when it comes to telecom and all that, they provide us with these technologies. So if they can come with initiatives that can actually make this policy come to being, it's going to be very, very nice. And then if the government to also push them, so make it intentional that this policy, instead of just lying there, they can actually take a step, partner with private sectors, partner with CSOs, because most times CSOs are actually closer to these people, partner with them and see if there are things that they
Can you
can
hear
put
me?
in place and make sure that these policies are being implemented. And it's not just there on recite every day that we have a policy that was created in 2019. So implementation is key, and it's going to take an effort of everybody coming together, private sector, governments, and the CSOs to make sure that these policies are actually implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. So before I go to a final question, sure, do you think that the agencies that should provide adequate data, you know, usually we say that we have a data challenge, and then that's the gap in which organizations like budget are trying to bridge. We don't have enough data that even affects, when we talk about things that affect people without disability, let alone a minority group, you know. Do you think that, are there things you think the right agencies can do to ensure that data that concerns those people are the front burner?
Yeah, it's very critical. But as you know, the data ecosystem, the chief provider of that data is the MBS. And so it's poorly funded. Even the few data you get is based on, maybe CBN is funding some, maybe the World Bank is supporting some part of it. And that's why you're even able to get information there. The challenge I have is also that is that because we're not a country that likes to use evidence to lead, that's why we have not been very effective about using data. Because by the time you say how many percentage of Nigerians suffers a kind of disability, I mean, we all have family members. If you maybe even don't have it in your immediate family, by the time you throw it wide open, into a little bit, there is no way you're not going to find someone within you, that doesn't have any form of disability or another. And now disability is even now a very broad spectrum. So maybe when we're growing up, thought it was people not being able to walk well or not speak. Things around ADHD, things, a lot of things now in that spectrum that we pay attention to see. So there's a need for us for those data ecosystems to be built. And I think, alternate data systems can also be, because waiting for government seems like to do. It looks like we'll continue to wait. So it's also very good that the budget doing, working with organizations rooted in issues of people with disabilities to actually capture the solutions for the blind. They really mean it. One of the biggest their voice were captured in the election process, that there was deliberate interest to say people with disabilities must be able to vote. So I think that those are the kind of, we have not made it and also have to be informed in gathering collection. Maybe that will support government to do much more in that regard. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sure maybe I should put you on the spot a bit. How soon do you think that we can expect about begin to implement some of those things that better help persons with disability able to interact with the kind of materials and information that you guys throw on the basis? Or what are the barriers?
Please, that's you're running more like you're running on an expressway. So you just want to get to the finish line and pick another bus and get to the finish line. Just need to check your tire. And those are the things that make sure that you have a smooth journey. I mean by that is that most times we want to just put a publication, a report there. But it also means that you deliberate. In our organization, we have someone who's living with disability and we're deliberate in hiring the person. All thanks country director. But he works for us like everybody works. I think we have been deliberate enough to say, okay, how does our work now fit into your community? And I think that's the first thing I say learning. We must be humble enough to know that we've not done well enough and must willing to learn. Second thing is also be honest. It is important, but inclusion is critical. So the part of the work that gets us to include everybody is critical. So it just means that we also have to build the skills for it. If we want to do an infographic, how do we make sure that everybody can read an infographic? If we want to do a publication, how is the publication presented in a way everybody can read? Does it mean that we have to now do audio versions of our publications? Does it mean that we have braille technology for infographics? The kind of things that we have to do. And I would say, give us 1 year. You have, yes, you have 1 year is a lot of time. Sorry, because we have to sit back and do a lot of adjustments, and now sit back and say, okay, in terms of policy going forward, we're going to do an infographic, we're going to do a publication, we're going to build a technology. It must have inclusive dynamics, and I think we will do that. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I should also say that most times we say people living with disabilities. So the living is actually not needed. Global it is referred to as PWDs, people with disabilities. Yes, thank you for that. I understand that Shola is available to take some of our questions on via Zoom.
Hello, Larry, can you hear me?
Okay, maybe. Hi, Shola, are you ready for us?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you, Shola. So I'll go straight to the question for you. Project Enable Africa has done quite a lot of things of persons with disabilities get the right education, so that they can fit into the workplace. But do you think that the media space, the media ecosystem in Nigeria, is ready to receive PWDs in that space? What's your feedback with respect to that?
All right, thank you so much, Larry. It's a pleasure to join the conversation. And I want to start by congratulating TheCable for 9 years of amazing work, and more so for using the opportunity of the 9th year anniversary to launch the Disability Inclusion News application, which I think is phenomenal, and it's a milestone in that space. Thank you so much for putting the effort to make that, and we are very delighted at Project Enable to have supported that initiative to make sure that we've provided technical support to ensure that persons with disability have access to correct, up-to-date information. Responding to your question, Larry, is the fact that it's not so much about if the space is ready. The media space is ready to engage persons with disability. It's extremely important that we understand that either the space is ready or not. Hello, Larry. Can you confirm if you can hear me? Hello?
I'm not sure Shola can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I was going to jump in and say a few things. All right. Shola, if you can you quickly respond to that question?
All right. I think what I was saying before the network issues came in was the fact that it is not really a choice. The conversation really is not about if the community of persons with disabilities is ready, or if the society is ready. The conversation should be that we have to be ready. We have to put what is necessary in place to ensure that persons with disabilities are carried along. Because like the numbers we know, a significant proportion of our populations are persons with disabilities. And there's really no sustainable development if we do not have an inclusive process in whatever it is we do, either in employment or creation of product like the news application that TheCable is launching, or whatever it is, in the society. We have to ensure that disability inclusion is part of it. It is no longer a choice if we truly, truly want to be inclusive. I would say in conclusion that we cannot really achieve the promise of the development goals if we are not inclusive. And that is very, very important for us to note. Thank you.
Or for you is that if you would advise a leading media brand like TheCable, what do you think should be the next technological innovation in terms of enhancing PWD and the media? What do you think should be the next thing we should be looking at?
All right. I didn't hear the beginning of your sentence, but I believe that question is for me, right, Larry?
Yes, exactly. It's for you, Shola.
Oh, great.
Talking about what do you think is the next thing after this app? What else do you look at?
All right, thank you. Like you have mentioned, I think the app is very, very strategic at this time, because I think the biggest part of disability inclusion is the attitude, how we think, how we see persons with disabilities. And I think that is the needle that this app would shift in the media sector, just bringing to the consciousness of everyone that there are people with disabilities that we have to think about, right? So once that is in place, then we start talking about assistive technology in a lot of ways. And assistive technology means a lot of things to different clusters or categories of persons with disabilities, right? Thankfully, many of the mobile devices that we use are increasingly becoming more conscious or more assistive in certain ways for different community of persons with disabilities. But the goal is whatever technology you're building as an organization, you should have a person with disability as part of the team who is able to advise from the beginning, who is able to inform the features that should be added, and who is able to help test to ensure that this tool, these resources, this product that we are putting in place actually puts into consideration the needs of persons with disability. Part of the service that we provide at Project Enable is providing audit service for corporate organization. And I'm glad that at this point we are working with TheCable to help audit the process, the policy. Earlier on, I heard Sean talking about the need for policies, and that's where it usually starts from. Auditing existing policy infrastructure that organizations have to ensure that those policies at the very center of them already have disability inclusion in them. At that point, disability inclusion is no longer a nice to have, but something that we are conscious, that we have decided, that we have made decisions in advance to put in the middle of whatever we do. Either it is a product or it's a practice we are putting in place or a process as a whole or a program, then it becomes a natural part of the process. One thing I would say as I conclude my response is when inclusion comes as an intervention, it is much more expensive and difficult to implement. And that is what we are doing in a lot of work that we do in Nigeria. That is the approach we are doing, a reactive approach. That is the approach we are taking. But when it comes as a natural process advised by policy, compulsory in our thoughts, then it's cheaper because it becomes part of what we naturally build into whatever we do. And at that point, we would have moved the needle in how we think about our society, understanding that disability is a natural part of the society that we live in. And we are happy to work, continue to work with TheCable, continue to work with other partners to make sure that, especially in the media sector, disability is enshrined into the code of practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shola. So finally, now to you, Shola. With respect to the 2019 bill, the bill that was passed in 2019, do you think that that bill has adequate technological components that would make the goals of that bill a reality in terms of implementation? Or do you think that we should start looking at adjustments, how do we call it now, policy review, so that we can infuse adequate use of technology? I mean, the media is doing a lot in the first place. I think the media helped significantly to ensure that the bill was even passed, in the first place. But do you think we're infusing enough, there's enough technological components in that bill?
Well, in a lot of ways, the bill was the first of such at that level to seek to drive disability inclusive engagement across sector. And if you look at the bill thoroughly, there are a few gaps, maybe a lot of gaps. But while we start to talk about the need for an upgrade or a follow-up bill that would help to cover some aspects that are not covered, we should recognize that there's still a lot of implementation gap in the existing bill that we have, right? The truth is we do have gaps in terms of especially technology. Just thinking through it now, I can't recall a part that emphasized the need for technology or assistive technology in the bill. But the point is, what are we doing to even implement what we have already, right? As individuals, as organizations, as the government. And I think that is extremely important to begin to put emphasis on getting ourselves to a point where we even have something tangible going in terms of implementation. And then one thing we can be sure of is in the coming years, there will be a lot of amendment to the bill. There will be a lot of follow-up bill that would come to drive, disability inclusive engagement across sector. But right now, I think what is more important is how do we get this built? 5 years, it's going to be 5 years next year, January. The grace period is going to come to an end, which means that we'll be able to begin to take legal consequences on those who default on the bill. And the question now is how we're preparing and positioning to ensure that the state of inclusion, the system of disability inclusion as a nation is strong, is built and supported and invested in, especially financially and technically, to ensure that is in place. Of course, I believe strongly that with the DINA app that TheCable is putting in place, that's in a lot of ways which would bring attention to this issue within the media sector. And like we know, the media shape culture, in terms of influencing what we think about and see every day. And once disability inclusion is infused in reporting, in all of this, media content, then the potential to even be more conscious as a society increases. And at that point, it's easier to have more conversation on how we can, the next step forward on that bill. Remember, it took several years to even get that bill there in the first place. And that is largely due to the fact that in a lot of ways, people don't see the need or people don't understand why that such bill should be pushed. But now that we have that, let's talk more about implementing, driving this conversation. And I believe that it's going to improve and a lot of other missing elements would come together as we go on.
All right.
Thank you, Larry.
So much. Thank you so much, Ola. I think a lot has been said in terms of tech and the media and how we can innovate to ensure that we have an inclusive society. Angela, what will be your last words with respect to everything that's been said so far?
All right, thank you. So I want to say congratulations again for this step. This is a very great one, the DINA app. When I saw that, I really appreciated that. This is a very good initiative. And I'm hoping to see other media houses actually follow this step because it's a great way to actually include everybody. Everybody's getting the right news. And the good thing about the app is that I see that it also has a fact checking feature, which is great. At least you're getting authentic news and everybody's left behind. So this is a very great work, and I want to say keep it up. And I look forward to, I know when applications like this come with time, you actually improve on them. So I look forward to more improvement, and I look forward to see what else you are going to actually do with this app. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Angela. Anshul,
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, the Cable, for inviting me for this session. And I want to say congratulations, like she's mentioned. Also say that it's a challenge to everyone, news organization, civil society organization, private sector, government, to build tools, integrative tools, to build standalone tools that can be helpful for people with disabilities. I've taken a challenge. I've made a commitment, and I promise. When you look like a long time, but I'll make sure that I'll have it by making sure that we get this as fast as possible. And we also work with Project Enable on this. Thank you very much.
thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Larry and crew. Can we have it another applause for them? They've been talking about technology and media innovation in pursuit of Nigeria's progress. And I think it's been an engaging conversation. However, I'm keeping them there so they can take one or two questions from the crowd here, and one, maybe two, from those who've joined us on Zoom. So do you have a question for the panelists before they go? Any question for them? Just signify by raising your hand. I'll come to you, and I'll take your question. Cameraman, you'll have to excuse us and allow me passage. But while I'm going to the first question, person asking the first question, my own question is that where is AI in all of this, artificial intelligence in all of this? I mean, this is the Cable newspaper. Some of us have been, agitated about how AI is going to be disruptive to the news production business. So please have that in mind, my first question. And the second question is coming shortly.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This has been a very engaging session. I'm very grateful. I'm in this all this morning. I'm also grateful I'm here that the dawn of this kind of thing is happening here in my presence in Nigeria. That is not actually abroad. I'm watching it. I am very grateful about that. So my question for you, Mr. Shehu, is this. Not Mr. Shehu alone. Everybody that is representing any media house that is thinking digital inclusion and that is thinking follow this act. So follow this act is going into the 50th year, and we're gradually going to be able to prosecute people who have not been living by those laws. So what my question is, when there is an issue, the first thing is how we solve it, right? So we're not trying to catch the thief. How do we make sure our goods are not available to be stolen? So what are the things you put in place as a management of media house, as a management board, to make sure that there is inclusivity and a continuity to it in your projects, in your media house, so that it's not like you've done this today and it's done and there. So there's development, there's constant development and continuity. Thank you.
Please, let's appreciate her. I know it's a long winding question, but I'm very positive that you can handle it. So, so let's have the panelists speak to these two questions.
All right. That's the first question on here. I maybe we'll give that to Shola, because that looks like advanced mathematics. I mean, it's the advanced degree, But the second question, thank you for that question. The first thing I think we did, and Gabriel, our head of, I keep mentioning our country director, was one that made sure that we work Project Enable to have Shay, who works with us, a person with disabilities, and we're glad. And when we came to the organization, the first thing was that it was like a reception desk officer. And I said, no, you don't have to be a reception desk officer. It should work in the organization like everybody works in, and he joined our research team, and they were impressed with a short time. They were incredibly impressed with the quality of his research work. And he's a fantastic member of our team now. And so maybe we need to look much more strongly into that direction, much more. And I think, like I said, Shola said it all. It starts from a policy audit. You thinking within the organization about how is your policy, how is your structure? Because once you get the policy right, they are going to people who will whisper to you, no matter how much speed you are looking for, who will whisper to you that, it's like you are trying to have a panel in these days, and you send me a list of panels, and there's no woman on the panel. Then you already know that that thing is not going to go anywhere, no matter how much decision you have made. You understand what I mean? So it means that we were deliberate to build a policy to say any panel you must have. And I don't talk about moderator. It was not just the moderator, because this is what we have done also. We just look for the woman to moderate. We now pack 5 men on the side. And I say, no. Part of I don't care if the person is not in the grade, I don't care. The woman must be on the panel. And that's what I mean. Inclusion is about being deliberate, and that's something that I ask from a policy standpoint, a process standpoint, a product standpoint, and you see that it just permeates the entire organization. So it's something that we have to be committed to, and it's something that people will do it by example. What TheCable has done today might look unnoticed, but I can bet you that hundreds of organizations, news organization, suicide. If body now takes the next step and says, "Oh, now we now have infographics, and we now start giving it to people," people are going to think and say, "Oh, wow. So this is another direction for us to also apply to." And that's how we create that ripple effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Those of us joining via Zoom, do you have your comments? Please leave your comments and questions there so that we can read it out. We've been talking about technology and media innovation in pursuit of Nigeria's progress. I'd like to thank our panelists and the moderator. Looks like there's one more question, yeah?
Yes, the question on AI. I think Shola will be in a good position to take that question if he's still there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Shola,
Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Oh, fantastic. So I think that's a very important question, because either we like it or not, AI is not just AI, but how we engage with technology is going to keep improving. But the question is, or the point I want to make is, there is technology and there is assistive technology. And I don't want us to worry too much about technology, because the point is, if persons with disabilities have access to assistive technology, then they have everything needed to engage assistive technology. If persons with disability have access to assistive technology, then they have everything necessary to engage with technology. A ChatGPT is an example of AI, right? But if I have a phone that is assistive that I can use to engage any website, any platform, then it becomes easier to use AI, right? And the point here is deconstructing the word, right? Especially the word technology, to understand that what technology means to you might even be different from what it means to other people, right? And how we engage with it. The bottom line is this: building a mindset that helps us ask the question every time we do anything, that how is what we are doing going to be engaged by persons with disability? When we have that question asked, then it's easier for us to find the answer and position ourselves in that means. And jumping on the second question quickly, is understanding that beyond creating products that are inclusive, is also ensuring that the entire organization take an holistic approach to being inclusive. One of the important things TheCable has done that they are not talking about today is doing an internal audit, right? And I can say this because we are the partner working with TheCable. Because if you create a platform like Dina and you do not put inclusive processes, train inclusive journalists, it's not going to be sustainable. You see, creating this kind of platform is good, but building the sustainability component around it, starting from auditing your policies to make sure that, okay, when you want to put a piece of information on this platform, these are the necessary things it must check. That becomes really important. We're also doing a process audit to look at the entire process, from where the news is generated to how it is processed and pushed out. That process is an important part of it. What are the programs that are designed to make sure that that process is inclusive? Training of journalists, becomes extremely important. One thing I see as a result of this in another 2-3 years is a lot of journalists with disabilities in the media space moving things. And when you have one or two journalists or media practitioners with disabilities in each media organization, then disability inclusion becomes a natural byproduct, right? So it is not just talking about it or developing a platform. Why that looks shiny, that is the end result. There's a lot behind it that is happening, which TheCable is going on. And I think that's part of what we should think about as we go on this journey.
Thank you so much, Shola. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, and that will be it for this panel discussion. I'd like to thank the moderator, Larry Olagunju, who is the former head of communications of Project Enable Africa. Are you clapping for him? Okay, great. We've had Olusegun Bide as a panelist for this important session. A round of applause for him. We've also had Shola Wonikoko speaking via Zoom. A round of applause for him. Angela is the only woman in this panel. That's like to counter what she has been saying all along. I'm joking. I know there's a second woman. Let us appreciate Angela. Angela had said, for every innovation, no one must be left behind. I'm picking her out because she said that, and she's the only woman there. So I'm quoting only her. Please, let's appreciate her. Thank you very much, our panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Let's keep appreciating them. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's been a session on technology and media innovation in pursuit of Nigeria's progress. Thank you to Lanre Olagunju, the fact check editor of TheCable. Right now, you see what I've noticed is that this crowd is a very stingy one. Ask me how you are stingy. How are we stingy? Because you've been stingy with your applause. If you're applauding someone, I'll just hear one there, one here. Why? Let's applaud. Let's applaud. Okay, before we go on to the next session, which is the reason why we're here, the app presentation and questions, Maya Watijani will be doing that. But let's quickly remind ourselves why we're here. The Cable dinner will be correcting exclusion of persons with disability in alignment with the Nigeria's Disability Act. And they'll be providing employment opportunities for people or persons with disability and driving inclusion across the news ecosystem in Nigeria. And this is a strong advocacy for persons with disabilities. Are we appreciating the cable newspapers now? This is the first of its kind. This is the first of its kind. We're talking about audio fact checking. Let the applause be really robust for cable newspaper. Fantastic. Having said that, I'm going to engage us a bit, a little game. I love to do this when I train people, and I love to do it when I encounter a crowd like this. And this is the mixed crowd. I'm looking forward to us making this really good. Right, so we're going to form words that end Sean, like direction. Okay, that's an example. So when I say Sean, 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 you will say Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. Direction. Fantastic. That's how it's going to go. So I'm going to come to your table. You form a word that ends with Sean. Okay, are we good to go? Are we ready to go? I'm coming with you. All right, Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. Direction. Direction.
Satisfaction.
Everyone who forms a word, you respond with Sean. Oh, again, madam.
Satisfaction.
Sean.
Implementation.
Sean.
Visualization.
Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. I'm coming to the editor. Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean.
Innovation. Innovation. Sean.
You have to generate a word that ends with Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean.
Intention.
Sean.
Contraction.
Sean.
Retention.
Let's appreciate them. I'm coming to your table. Sean.
Education.
Hey. Sean.
Interaction.
Sean.
Dedication.
Sean.
Inclusion.
Sean.
Ablution.
You see, I'm telling you now. Sean.
Attention.
Sean.
Recreation.
Determination.
Protection. Reproduction. Addition.
Extinction. Appreciation. Examination. Innovation.
Sean.
Prostitution.
Organization.
Mobilization. Evolution.
Litigation.
That's how you know lawyers. Sean.
Communication. Abdication.
Discrimination. Transition.
Sean.
Calculation.
Sean. Divination.
Application.
Coercion.
Information.
Sean.
Imagination.
Accreditation. Coronation.
Okay, now let's give us a round of applause. Let's appreciate ourselves. If I don't come to this table, what will I gain? Sean.
Mobilization.
Sean. Agasa.
Execution.
Sean.
Obligation.
Sean.
Transmission.
Sean.
Socialization.
Civilization. Auction.
Location. A round of applause. If they lie, you can't run away. Sean.
Dimension.
Right? Okay, let me leave these people to take their photo. I'm coming to that table. Sean.
Position. Interpretation.
Extemporization.
That's so long. Have I done? Oh, okay. So what do I do? Okay, hold on. We have Sean.
Education.
Sorry, hold on.
Coronation. Communication.
A round of applause for them. Did I take everyone? Sean.
Temptation.
Instruction.
Action. Sean. Where are these stable people? Sean.
Attribution.
Attraction.
Organization.
Who else is left out? Sean. I'm going to Augusta. Sean. Sure, sure, sure. Sure, 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 sure.
Cableization.
Fantastic. So we move on now to the presentation of this app with assistive features. Heard some of our analysts talk about the fact that there should be to this app we're launching today. Already, there have been futuristic saying that there should be updates already. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Mr. Mayowa here. He's going to be leading the presentation of and is going to be fielding questions as well. So if you have questions, please make your questions very short and straight to the point. For now, let's invite Mayowa Tijani as he does this presentation of the cable dinner. A round of applause.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everyone in the hall and of course for people joining us online. It's quite a privilege to have you with us today. So before going into the app presentation proper, I just want to give us a little background as to how we got to where we are today. So of course, one of the, if you, anybody it's any of this, if you hold, see our editorial values as it were, the ones that the cable founded, started operation in 2014. I would say founded in 2011, as you can even see at the back. Long before it became, long before the United Nations decided to start singing "Leave No One Behind," the cable has been there. And that's what we say for respect for diversity. So in the fabric, what the cable stands for is that respect for diversity from the world go. So in that, if you look at our report, you find that we cover everyone. We leave nobody behind. So as we're covering news about justice, we're covering about inclusion, about business, the economy, sports, you see all of it. But as we continue going, continue innovating. A few years ago, we started what was referred to as the index, which was our way of sharing data to define issues across content. Of course, that has become a really popular product. With that same vision, with that respect for diversity in mind, we've also been covering people with disability. We've reported extensively about that in Nigeria. We've reported extensively about the disability, the 2019 Act, and basically build that. In thinking of that, one of the things we have to say, okay, we are reporting things, but you know, one of the things we see is that the cable's vision is to deliver knowledge-driven journalism in the pursuit of Nigeria's progress. So we are Nigeria's progress with our journalism. But beyond that, can we start offering products that actually lead to the progress of the country as a whole? So this has been what has been informing many of the things that we've done as an organization. So taking that forward for this time around, we then thought about it. Okay, we've been saying leave no one behind. We've been saying we must do this with our news. We must do that. What if we then begin to capture this industry, this group of persons like us who are living with one form of disability or the other? And so we put together this idea. We discussed it. Of course, we had always been of the opinion that, of course, the cable should have an app. And one of the things that my boss would always say is that once we say we want to do something, the question would be, why are we doing it? What's the purpose? What are we trying to achieve? Are we just doing it because everyone is doing it? And let me tell you a short secret today. I don't know if you would like me to say it. This is not the first cable app we're building. We've built quite the number of apps, but you know, we just feel like it's not, there's no value added. And of course, one of the key points that we preach at TheCable is that we must add value to the stories, we must add values to the fact checks, must add value to the analysis, and we must add value to every product offering. So because we did not feel like there was enough value that was different within the space, we still felt like there was still more to be done. And so we came up with the idea that, okay, and maybe this is something I should clear from the word go. The Cable app is the Cable app. And what I mean by that is an app that everybody can use. I know that from how things have gone in this room today, from how we've been discussing, from maybe even some of our marketing materials, you would get the sense that you might want to get the sense that this app is for persons with disability. While that is true, this is the Cable app for everybody. One of the things they say in the space is that if you build something with people with disability in mind, what that does is that it also makes it an easier product for just anybody to use. So today we are going to take you through what our processes have been, how we got to this point, and you would basically see what we're talking about as I go along. Give me this slide. I'm just going to go to the first video, which is video for the regular user. Yes. So I'm going to play this video now. And this video is basically going to show what the Cable app as an app does for just anybody who wants to use the app. So let's go. Please, could you start the video again? Thank you. So this is the app for the regular user. Play, please. So you have the choice of picking the topics you are interested in, the coverage you want. And once that is done, it then moves to a tailored app. So the way the app is for every person is different. Choose.
Fact check. Is a lioness truly giving birth when it rains while sunny? An old Nigerian myth known to many claims a lioness is giving birth each time it rains while the sun is also out.
You can save stories on the app to read later on. You can also search. We have a search feature within the app.
I look to engaging with you. Tinubu congratulates King Charles III on coronation.
So you see your save story if you go on the save part. And then you can also switch between dark mode and light mode. And this is very important for some persons with visual impairment.
Osimhen breaks George Weah's record, becomes highest scoring African in Serie A. Victor Osimhen, Super Eagles of Nigeria striker, set the record for the highest scoring African player ever in the Italian Serie A following his winning goal.
So the app as it is available for download on the iOS and Android Play stores. Now, this is the regular user version of the app. If you want to clap, please clap. I can see you clapping at the back. Okay, so we're moving to, and there was something that came through the panel. The panel, one of the things they said is that it's more expensive to try to infuse accessibility in your processes when you've already started, than against starting with that infusion at the beginning of the project and then working through it. So when we started, we had what we thought was the best way for designing this. And that's what we're going to take you through now. This is the next video.
Welcome to the Cable app. Do you need voice assistance? Yes or no?
Yes.
Would you like to listen to a brief tutorial on how to use the voice assistant? Yes or no?
No.
So what we did was you can
Certain
interact with the
topics.
app with your voice and with basically questioning, going through the process. Just once you open the app, it starts to speak to you, and then you can respond as you go along. Please continue playing video.
Will be read to you. Say yes if you are interested and no if you are not. Business. Yes or no?
Yes.
Campus cable. Yes or no?
No.
Climate cable. Yes or no?
Yes.
Company analysis. Yes or no?
No.
Crime and justice. Yes or no?
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the topics you have selected? If you are satisfied, yes. If you wish to add more topics, say no. Here are this new cable. Story 1. Kidnappers kill businessman after collecting N 10 meters ransom. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no?
No.
Story 2. Trailer. To Baba, Wife Return for Young, Famous and African, Season 2. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no? Story 3. And the Top Cop Goes Tough. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no?
No.
Story 4. Buhari directs NUPRC to take over supervision of all crude oil export terminals. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no?
Yes.
Buhari directs NUPRC to take over supervision of all crude oil export terminals. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed Nigerian upstream petroleum. This story has been saved.
Next story.
watch. Protecting biodiversity can lend resilience to natural disasters, says NCF. Despite directly
Go back.
Would you like to search for a story? Yes or no?
Yes.
What would you like to search for?
King Charles.
12 results were found. Here are the headlines. Story 1. Photos. Charles, Camilla crowned King and Queen of England. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no?
No.
Story 2. I look to engaging with Tinubu congratulates King Charles III on coronation. Would you like to listen to this story? Yes or no?
Yes.
I look to engaging with you. King Charles III on coronation. Tinubu, is prep.
Back.
Would you like to listen to a saved story? Yes or no?
Yes.
Here are your 3 saved stories. Story: Buhari directs UPRC to take over supervision of all crude oil export terminals. Want to listen to this story? Yes, no.
Thank you very much. So this was our first attempt at accessibility with the app. We had a situation with basic to the app. That's how you walk through the entire process of news, facts, and analysis, and what have you. Now, as it's our culture, as it's part of the policy that we have in place, done this by our partners, and of course, we and the process. One of the things we found, and of course, you must probably have noticed that in the course of this video, was learn. You have to learn sort of with how they were, all of that, or to do, want to do something, to do this, because you can be easy in that sense for them. Feedback into them. What we then do was, okay, we are not going to go this route again. We are going to change it to something that is more native to them, something that they already use, something that there's no learning curve that they have to go through, which would take off the and all that. So this then led us to the third version, which is what we are presenting today. Sorry, before, and maybe this is something I probably have said earlier. This, as we have it today, is not going to the feedback we've been making before has been a controlled environment. Our partners, what they think they will us, that kind of thing would give us all sorts of feedback, and then we can work on that in perfecting. We've even gotten feedback to say we only have light mode and dark Some people prefer grayscale. That's also something that we are then thinking about in next iteration of the project. And so as many more, we'll get many more feedback as you use. And once we get this feedback, you would be able to work on it to bring the app to perfection. Now, one good thing about this version also is that if anybody downloads it, if somebody without disability downloads it, you don't even know that the app has those features. The only thing you see is maybe if you open the story and then you can play yourself. And so as a result, you can do that. But in the sense of it, you don't, it's not as intrusive as the version that we just watched, that immediately you open the app, it's already talking to you. So please, let's play the last video.
Cable. Double tap to activate. Double tap and hold to long press. Actions available. Use tap with 3 fingers. The cable. Select your type interest. Out of grid. You can change this in asset. 0 selected categories. Button. Select all categories. Business. Double tap to select. Campus cable. Double tap to select. Climate cable. Double tap to select. Fact check. Double tap to select. Done. Button. Double tap to activate. The cable logo. Hamburger menu icon. The cable logo. Heading. Latest news. New more. Button. Story category is business. Story title is apply. Zenith Exhibition seeks MEs for its startup. Story category is life and living. Story title is Harry missing from King Charles III coronation photos. Published 3 hours ago. Double tap to open. Button. Back. Double tap to activate. Button. Preview story. Double tap to activate. Button. Next story. Button. Save story. Button. Share. Story. Button. Place. Double tap to activate.
Harry missing from King Charles III coronation photos. Prince Harry, the youngest son of King Charles III, did not feature in the coronation photos of his father. On Saturday, Charles the
Button. Back. The cable. Selected. Top stories. Business. Tab 2 of 4. Tab to business. Tab 2 of 4. Selected. Apply. Zenith Exhibition seeks SMEs for its Startup Zone project. Free tag. On the go. 2 hours ago. Double tap to open. Search. Tab 2 of 4. Activate. Search. Tab 2 of 4. On left. The cable on right. Allow the cable to record audio while using the app. Button. Allow the cable to find, connect and determine the relative position of nearby devices. Allow. Button. The cable. Selected. Search. The cable logo. Heading.
Thank you very much.
Edit box.
Please,
Find
you
it
can
on the
pause the
cable.
video. Now, thing that you note immediately. One thing that you note immediately is that if you're not the person that uses talkback or voiceover, you don't like this version of the app. But the people who use talkback and voiceover prefer this version of the app. And of course, we already have response. So which also brings us to the that the organization will choose that process of giving a product, but not just giving a product that there's really nobody that can use it or that there's nobody that needs it. We're working on a need-based system, basically. We understand what the need of community is. We've infused it into what the app is. and we are getting the delivered results as both communities want it today. We are going to building on this as we go forward, as we get feedback, but this is the offering we have today. And I'm going to be inviting, of course, for questions. I know that there might be some questions in the room. I'm going to be inviting our lead developer, Jesu Pelume Adetunji, who is the lead developer at Manuel Softwares, who basically helped us with this whole process. His team, we've of course frustrated them a lot with a lot of feedback. In fact, when we had to go 360 with the app, it was something else, but of course we are glad that we're able to get through that. So I'm opening it to the room now. Any with questions, please just show of hands.
Please make your questions very short and straight to the point. If you have a question that we just saw, or you have a comment, a question or a comment, very short. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariam Ileyemi. I would like to first commend TheCable for this great initiative. In fact, I was having goosebumps when you were presenting. I'm so excited that we have this. So I would like to ask this question because, you know, when we look at PWDs, we have different clusters. We have visual impairments, we have hearing impairments, physical disabilities and all. So have you like made an effort to like look at these clusters to see how you can make this app really inclusive enough to make sure that no group is left behind? Also the application, I don't know if you can probably look at the pace of the reading, yeah, for some people, and also the voice. I don't know, because I know Microsoft Bing has different, well, they have Nigeria, they have that. So I don't know if you can put Nigerian voice as an option for some people that would need, you know, an advanced level of comprehension, you know. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for answer the second question. It would do justice to the first. So with respect to the, you said the speed, the rate of speech. So there are two aspects you have to be aware of. What we try to do, especially as you mentioned, we went like full 60. One thing we had to put at the back of our minds was, is the fact that people with disability already use their phones. So they already have either iPhone or their whatever Android, Infinix, Samsung, or whatever it is they use. And the phones themselves right now in 2023 are already built with, you know, equipment, tools, software to be able to handle, you know, thing. We mentioned the grayscale thing. There are settings on your phone that, you know, help you if you have issues with color. So what we try to do with the app before this current version we are releasing today, what we did before was we're trying to control things, but we realized that people with disability already use apps. The Cable app is not the first app they'll be using, right? So what we are trying to do is to be less intrusive. That being said, there's also the part of the app where we control, which is where the news is being read to you. That one, yes, we can, as I said, it's a growing app. We can, yes, give you options to control the speech rates. But if respect to the like you are saying, select, you know, these topics, all of that, that's the speech rate of your phone. It's not the app involved. Yes. So there are two parts. There's the part where what your phone we are in control. There's a part where we can control and therefore would give you the option to control the rates. Does that answer that? The voice. Yes, so it's part of what it's in the works. We've looked at several models. Currently we use Google Speech, text to speech API from Google Cloud. That's
various voices. Part of what we plan to do is to train a model using their tools they provide to use a more native, more Nigerian voice. This is what we have for now.
Thank you. Let me just take the first part of our question. So she said something about disability spectrum. Now, this also want to got along the line. There's a lot to cover. Basically, different people have different needs, and what we have done with this first offering is to pick what we call the leading needs within the system. Now, there are people who, when we started out, the things we're going for were people with visual impairments, people who are hard of hearing, people with limb challenges. So people who cannot be tied away on the phone, like maybe persons who has probably suffered in the past from leprosy, that you just have like just a single feel of hand to scoop their phone. So those are the people we go for. And then we also have options of being able to expand the text. So text as it is now would, the normal text that you find on the app is just what you find normally in most apps. It's also within the setting of the app that you can expand the text if you're someone who needs who has some form of visual impairment that needs bold text. Then other other disabilities on the spectrum, as many as we can cover based on feedback we get, we are still going to try and infuse them into it. I hope that works.
We have one question here, or is it a comment?
Good afternoon, everybody. Let me start by commending this initiative. And my question, or maybe a build up on the first question, would be looking at expanding the inclusiveness for things like Pidgin, the Pidgin version, then also having the other major like Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, so that it would cover much more people who don't speak or understand English. Thank you.
Like we've tried to stress and emphasize in this section of the program, is that the app is not complete yet. These are the kind of feedbacks we welcome, which we'll work on, and deliver better iterations of the app. So basically, we are saying thank you for that feedback, and yes, we will provide those to you in the future.
To also add to that, as it is today, in our fact-checking department at TheCable, we of course fact-check in English. We have fact checks in the major Nigerian language, Pidgin, Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo. And with some of those fact checks comes the natural languages in them. And so the approach that TheCable is taking is just not for the app, but for the organization as a whole. We are improving our processes to make sure that we reach like the largest number of people. We are more inclusive in our approach. And so what we are doing is once we publish some of these stories in other Nigerian languages, we would also have like the voice. So if you open a story on the app right now, you see the voice reader that would read the story to you if you're interested in that kind of offering. Now, the audio there in that voice reader for a Pidgin story can be just reading to you in Pidgin. And of course, we can have other options for other languages as the tech provides, and of course, as we go into the future for TheCable. Thank you.
We have one more question here, and then we'll move on to the next on the agenda on the program. So I'll come to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Chizoba Oji. I want to, first of all, commend TheCable, because when I open the app, I am a person with visual impairment, so I think I can talk about it better. When I open the app, first of all, my visual impairment colleagues here will tell you that some logos will tell you button unlabeled. I hope you accept with me. Button unlabeled, button unlabeled. But when you swipe on this one, it will tell you TheCable logo. I think I will commend you on that. So, and there are so many news apps. When you are swiping, it will be telling you unlabeled, unlabeled. But this one, when you swipe, it will tell you business. If you swipe again, it will tell you nation or politics, but other apps will be telling you unlabeled, unlabeled, unlabeled. So I want to commend TheCable on this particular initiative. Now, a suggestion. Our sister that talked before talked about the pace. Like I said, as a user, I will talk more. It's correct when she said you have to, do a little bit on pace, because when you get used to it, you will not like that slow pace. Like this, my phone now is talking, and that is the way we normally like. So we normally like it on a very fast pace, and our own Google Talkback cannot control that. So it will be nice from the setting. You can select voice. Like me, I love female voice, but some people like male voice. Prefer male voice. So if you install female voice, people that love male voice, probably the male folks may not really like it to be as if their fellow ladies talking to them. So at the settings, it will be, more advisable to have accessibility settings so that where the user can go and decide how the accessibility will work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very informed contribution to the conversation. What will be your response?
Thank you very much for that feedback. Yes, like we had said from the outset of the program, we started with accessibility, in mind, and getting accessibility delivered to you was really a priority. And yes, thank you for that feedback. We plan to add those things. With respect to voices, so like I told her earlier, there are two aspects of the app we have to be aware of. There's the part where you said you like the spirit. I'm even hearing that would cooperate in our work as well. That's that part control. You control that. So it's fast on your phone because that's your setting, right? So I guess the part you're talking about is the news reader when the news is being read to you. Yes, we work on that, and then we deliver more voices, more voice options to you.
Thank you very much. That'll be all. Can we give a round of applause to Mayowa Tijani, project lead, and Jesu Pelumi Adetuji, lead developer, manual softwares. We can do better. We're becoming stingy again. Oh. There's no Sean anymore. Right, moving on. Let's take for Edge/Project Enable Africa on-site user testimonials. Who's doing that? You recall that Project Enable bridges the gap between the demand and supply of talents with disabilities in the informal and formal sector. So let's take the on-site user test. Will be doing behind. Can you step forward? Over to on-site use testimonials.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olalekan Owonigo. I lead the ICT team at Stanford Tech and Project Enable Africa, and it's been a pleasure working with TheCable on this particular app. I mean, I noticed that when Mayowa was doing the review, when he played the second video where there was a lot of voices and talk, but everybody here, you were excited about it because it sounds fun. But for the persons with disability, it was not useful, right? But then I also observed that actually when he broke it down and explained, and then he played the third video. The applause was actually better than the second one, which means that we're actually learning. We're seeing into the world of persons with disability, and now we can understand some of the things the panelists, are saying, some of the things they are sharing. So from our end, we had to do like a focus group discussion and testing for the app, which was where we saw what the second app was like, and then had to raise some of those pointers as to making this extremely accessible for persons with disability. And I'm just going to stress that, some of the things they've said, but I also want to bring someone up for a comment. He's one of the panelists, but he couldn't make it earlier. And he is Mr. Okweolu Akinola, an assistive technology consultant with over 20 years experience. He is also one of our partners at Project Enable, and he's going to be speaking rather shortly to persons with disability themselves as regards adopting technology and innovation that are being presented for the community. And then for non-persons with disability, is going to speak about the bridge between technology and disability. Please let's put our hands together for him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, and my apologies again for dragging us back. I had an emergency this morning I had to attend to before coming here. Okay, it's been very, very enlightening for me being here. And for persons with disabilities, I think technology is basically, I'll break it down into three things, three T's. The first thing is the task you want to perform, the tool you want to use, and then the technique or the skills you need to apply to ensure that your tool can actually achieve the task. So for a person with disability, it's very essential that you acquire the skills that will enable you to engage with technology. I mean, that's what happens everywhere anyway. If you are not a person with disabilities and you want to use technology, it's not everybody who is not disabled that can just pick up a computer and use it. I mean, you have to learn the skills. So it's the same thing with persons with disabilities. It's essential that you acquire the skills. And as technology continues to develop, it's going to come with its own challenges. But it's those that have the skills to use those, to overcome those challenges that are going to do it. And so what TheCable has essentially done today is to apply technology. And they did what is best. They did a lot of user feedback and testing and all that to arrive where they are. And they've started a journey, because accessibility generally is a journey. It's not a destination. You don't get there. Nobody has ever got there I mean, nobody has achieved total accessibility yet. We keep doing a lot of things about it. I belong to the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, and we still have a lot of technical group discussions we keep going on about accessibility and policies and methods and all that. So it's a journey. But the most important thing about every journey in the world is to start, isn't it? If you don't take the first step, the journey is never going to get to an end. So TheCable has led the Nigerian media in taking the first step today. And we do hope that other media organizations will take note. Now, another thing that's very important is that we have to learn to disaggregate disability when we're talking of accessibility. And that's what happened when my colleague, the visually impaired gentleman, came to speak about the accessibility of the app. The voice reader may be beneficial to persons with disability. It is beneficial to visually impaired persons. It is actually also beneficial to sighted persons, because sometimes maybe you're cooking and you just want to be, your hands are not free, or you can't be looking at the screen. You can also be using it. So there are different categories of users that can use anything that is created for accessibility. It's not one person. And for me, when I was thinking of the newsreader, I remember some elderly colleagues of mine who did a lot of reading. And what they found out was that the older they got, the more they were getting used to audio for reading rather than reading with their eyes, because eyes do get tired. And even for people who are fully sighted, looking at a screen for long can tire your eyes. And so the voice reader comes in very useful at those kinds of points. So, of course, the points he made about it are very, very germane. They are very relevant. That's firstly, it's good to have the ability to choose your voices. It's good to have the ability to choose the pace at which you want things to be rendered to you. But it's not just about visually impaired persons. Everybody can use this, and it's really innovative. And so generally in technology, we're talking about AI now. We've gone to AI. I think AI is something all of us understand generally. What AI would mean is that technology is trying to behave like human beings. And in AI, we have two kinds of AI. We have narrow AI and wide AI. But let's not get very technical. Okay, so what happens with AI and the engagement of apps and accessibility is that we're doing a lot to ensure that it will not be so necessary at the initial stages to look for an accessibility professional to let you know that something is not totally accessible, or it is this percentage accessible, and these are the areas you want to work on and all that. So that is what we are doing to apply AI in accessibility. And so if you were to do an AI assessment of this app, there are, okay, I know that there are AI that we use for accessing websites, for example. And so you do an accessibility of the websites, you have initial reports. Based on the report, then a human being now goes through it again and cross-checks, and then that's the process. So AI is actually not going to replace human beings, but it's going to make it a lot easier for you to know exactly where you stand on the accessibility map. And this is very good. We've started. I am happy to be in Nigeria now because this country is definitely taking the steps it has to take. When the media leads anything, because we call the media the pace setters, the agenda setters, I think. Now, when the media begins to lead something, then it's not possible to keep quiet about that thing anymore. And so I think TheCable has done something very important for our country. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we've heard a lot of so I had some follow-up questions, but interestingly has answered some of those questions, especially the fact that the feedback or the voice prompts feature is actually beneficial to not just persons with disabilities, but everybody generally. These days, most people just want to interact, with their phones, with their devices, speak to it and then get it to do things. I mean, I do that with Google Assistant every now and then. Hey, Google, can you do this for me? Can you send me a reminder? And what we say about the AI is something that we are just beginning to scratch the surface. In few years, we're going to see a lot more that will be possible. So yes, finally, I'm going to say that a lot of work has gone into this app. We have tested across several persons with disability. We have tested at different stages of the development. And what we have today is a brilliant work that has been done. Of course, like every other app, there are always versions, that will come up. This is not even version 1.0, right? Because we've gone through, this is probably like version 1.4 or 1.3 or so, right? So I encourage you to look forward, help spread the word. If you have any person with disability around you, if you have anybody actually, let them know that there's a new app in town that would help, that will get them access to news as it should be and in a very accessible way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. On-site user testimonials by Stanford's Edge, Project Enable Africa. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Laycom. If you hashtag TheCable Inclusive News App. If you're not tweeting, it's still hashtag TheCable Inclusive News App. If you're just joining us, tweet along, hashtag TheCable Inclusive News App. The D there is capital T. The cable there is capital C. There is capital I. News is capital N. The app there is also capital A. Hashtag TheCable Inclusive News app. Sean, Sean, Sean. Sean, Sean, Sean. Cableization. Cableization. On this note, I'd like to welcome the founder and CEO of Cable Newspaper Limited, Mr. Simon Kolawole. Keep clapping till he gets here. The Cable launches Nigeria's first disability inclusive news app. Another round of applause as I give the microphone to Mr. Simon Kolawole.
Thank you very much. This is a very humbling moment. I've been very impressed with everything that everyone has said, comments, the conversations, the suggestions, and I want to thank everyone who has taken the time out to witness this event. First, I want to apologize for the initial itches before we started. At the Cable, we try to keep to time. If we say 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. Because we cannot continue to criticize the way the society is run when we ourselves are not keeping to the rules. So we were unhappy when the itches came up. So please accept our apologies. Then we're delayed for about 15 minutes because of technical issues. Sometimes the best laid plans can go wrong. You have tried all your best and still it went wrong. I want to thank Google. The representative, I think, is caught in traffic somewhere. He's supposed to be here because they're the ones that partnered with us on this project. Like as Mr. Mayowat Jani said, we've been on this app thing for a long time. The first app we developed was, I think, 2015, but we trashed it because it didn't meet our expectations. We tried another one. So this one, finally, we have it delivered with support from Google, with support of our partners, Stanford Edge and Project Nibu Africa. I think we held our first meeting a year ago. Yeah. Finally, it's here. So no matter how long it has taken us, the app is finally here. I want to especially acknowledge what Mr. Mayowat Jani has done about this. Please, I want everybody to clap for him. I'm not going to use any filter. He's the brain behind this project. Without him, there will be no Cable dinner. Maybe his breakfast will be eaten. He conceived every single, everything. He wrote the project proposal. He did the defense, everything. The only thing I attended was the final meeting, and I was just looking. I was even useless because I didn't even know what to say because entirely is idea. So everything, even this program that we are holding today is the major brain behind the flow of events. So once again, please, I want to. I hope Google will not snatch him, but they can snatch him. That's a foreign exchange for Nigeria. The editor is unavoidably absent. I'm actually supposed to be somewhere. He went to represent me. So, and he was part and parcel of the whole thing, of the planning, but we just had to take a decision. I was supposed to be somewhere in Delta today, and I said, and they wanted me in particular to be there. And I said, well, can the editor come? They said, yes. I said, editor, sorry, you have to go on my behalf. Also, Mansour Ibrahim, our social media is. People have been working overnight, and that's, I'm even talking about at the Cable level. We are not the ones that developed the app. We can imagine, holding meetings. This event will have taken place a week ago. There were a lot of issues we needed to resolve. I also want to acknowledge the role of Abiola Mohammed, business manager, and indeed every single member of the Cable, because without them, it will there's no Cable. They are the Cable. They are the Cable. Of course, I also want to thank the developers. It's been a fantastic job. Like I said, we've tried before and we're not satisfied. So if we are finally giving birth to it now, it means that we are satisfied. It's not as if we have arrived. There's still a lot of work to do, but we have started finally. So my gratitude on behalf of the Cable Network. And Stanford Edge too, they provided some of the things we never knew. You know, this issue of people living with disability, it used to be a distant thing to some of us. And we live in a society where if you are not seen as part of the majority, quote unquote, nobody cares about you. I was at Lutz one day, and this man had a limb issue. They carried him physically, took him upstairs, second floor, so physically, because the lift was not working. So some of us along the line, we became more exposed to how things are done in the civilized world. You know, you travel to the US, you travel at the airport, there's the toilet facilities are disability friendly. You know, buses, if you want to enter a bus in London and you're in a wheelchair, the bus, there's a ramp that the bus will just, so that you can, you know, and there's a space for you to, if you have you are in a wheelchair, for you to sit. So when they say advanced countries, these are the things that they do. That we say they're advanced. And there's also this thing we don't understand. Almost every human being has a disability. Some of us, we know, but we are in denial. Some of us don't even know. Some of us don't even know. For instance, me, if I'm driving now, you say, turn left. I can't imagine my left immediately. It's a learning disability. Right. Maybe low spectrum or whatever they call it. But I have to look out where's my wristwatch, then I turn left. For some people, immediately they can tell where the left and right is. Somebody like me, I cannot work with a manual. I say you want to assemble something, I should be looking at manual to assemble. I can't. It will just scatter my head. So there are different kinds of disabilities, but the ones that are very obvious, those are the ones that people see. And a lot of policies, if you still go to many government agencies today, they still don't have step-free access. You know, and there will be a lot of policies, but a lot of banks are implementing this. And so we are going to have a society that is inclusive, because my grandmother used to tell me something, that don't laugh at somebody with disability, that some of them, they were not born like that. That means you too. And that thing stuck to my head, because as children, we could laugh at anything. We could make fun of anything. As you were saying, this person you are saying that is limping today, he was not born like that. So if it can happen to him, it can happen to you too. So don't laugh at anybody. And that kind of shaped the way my own thinking about society. And it got better when I started traveling abroad. And I saw the way they were treating, you know, even the issue of interpreting. You know, it was not until recently we started taking it seriously. So you just realize, okay, somebody wants to enter a public, how do you enter a public bus in Lagos and they won't push you? They'll push you. Well, maybe BRT is better organized now. But all this, so we don't know, because so is if somebody is in government, the people who are making policies also have some disabilities they're living with, it will shape the way policy is made, because they also want to cater for themselves. So they are not just talking based on, they are not doing policy based on what they have read in books, but their experiences as well. So thank you very much, everyone, our distinguished guest. I must thank the MC. She's always been with us. She's part of our story. So when she saw national anthem, the first I said, have you people started singing national anthem? Because she knows that we don't sing national anthem, we don't say opening prayers. It's part of the difference that we make at TheCable. There's too much hypocrisy in this country. Patriotism is not when you sing national anthem. People want to meet, state executive, federal executive. Oh, give us Christian prayer, they will pray. Give us Muslim prayer, they pray. Then they will spend the next 3 hours inflating contracts, stealing money, and when they are done, give us closing prayer, they pray. You know, they sing national anthem, they are the least patriotic. So patriotism is not what we say, it's what we do. Anybody can say I'm patriotic, but I want to see that patriotism in part. So at TheCable, we say no. If an event is 10 a.m., we start at 10 a.m., not 10 for 11, as people say. There was an event we were going to hold live on channels. And we're bringing a governor, and the governor was still dilly-dallying somewhere. We were going to change him as the lead speaker. So he quickly came back because he feels because he's governor, he can come at any time. The event is 10 o'clock. So if we want to change this country, you don't need to be a member of PDP or Labour Party. Start in your corner. If you're already used to doing things the right way, when you now have that opportunity, you will do it. But when at your own small corner, you say event is 11 and you are starting at 12. So it's when you come president that you now start starting at 11. It's not going to happen. So thank you very much, everybody. You are much appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you very much, the CEO and co-founder of TheCable News. Let's give him another round of applause. News and Views Unlimited. That's TheCable News for you. And they've done a first of its kind in Nigeria today by launching the Ability Inclusive News app. I'm told that they're expecting about 100,000 downloads in the first 1 year. Download it now, yeah? You can start downloading now that app. Let's make it trend. Let's make it have traction. Also saying that this is in alignment with Nigeria's Disability Act. You've heard the CEO say, put your mouth where your money is. The change that we're asking for. So we're hoping that this app is going to gain traction and is going to be celebrated as we celebrate today. I'd like to thank everyone for coming. It's time for lunch and networking. Thank you again for coming. To our interpreter, Oladipupo. Toyin Oladipupo. Please let's appreciate her. And the other lady who started somewhere there, let's appreciate them robustly. Thank you again, everyone. We'd like to thank the partners, Google News Initiative, Projects Enable, Cape Newspaper, Journalism Foundation, and our lovely audience on Zoom. Thank you very much. I see Madam Amina Saliu from the MacArthur Foundation. She's saying, congratulations, Cable. Keep modeling the way. Let's clap for her properly. Okay, so as we wrap up, a video will be played. I like the smile I'm seeing on screen. I hope we're all smiling. This is a history-making event, and really we should be smiling because we brought back to the lives of more than 30 million Nigerians who belong to this category. Thank you very much. Keep the smile. Thank you. We're playing a video now as we network, and then we wish you a safe journey to your destination. Thank you very much. My name is Funke Treasure. Launch